So, what is my thumbnail, too big to fail all over again, all about? Well, too big to fail refers to our subprime crisis. Our subprime crisis was all about residential real estate, some loans that were made that were just, there's no way they were going to be paid back. And the government had to step in. Paulson called a after hours on the weekend meeting and brought all the banks in, the CEOs of the banks, and said, we have bank failures on our hands. Lehman Brothers is about to fail. We've got some other banks that are on the brink of failure. We got AIG Insurance that's about to fail. We've got to bail these things out. And so Paulson and Bernanke put together a program that basically was called quantitative easing, in which they got the other banks, J.P. Morgan and Wells Fargo and all the other banks, to come in and buy up some of the bad assets on the books of Lehman Brothers and several other banks. And then in addition to that, they bailed out General Motors out of bankruptcy. And so we've got a similar situation going on. And if you've paid attention, you heard that New York Citizens Bank announced earlier or last week that they were writing off more bad loans in fourth quarter of 2023 than they had in the preceding 10 years. And then the next day, two foreign banks came out and said, we've got similar exposure in Chicago and San Francisco and Atlanta, and we're having to write off some of them as well. This is all over again. It's deja vu all over again, these, to use Yogi Berra's terms. And so what I'm saying to you is it's time you connect the dots. I've shown you this chart that I house on my website, on our Platinum channel, where I've shown you back in 2007, 08, 09, there was an inverted yield curve, and that put the banks in a position where they had to make some bad financial decisions in order to generate fees to keep themselves afloat. And then those fees that they generated came around and bit them in the ass when the people that paid the fees couldn't pay the mortgages when they became due. And that was the subprime crisis. And we had, I think it was $250 million worth of, oh, is that right? $250 billion worth of consumer loans that went bad. Now, what I want you to do is connect the dots that are happening now. We had, as I said, three banks say that they're underwater on commercial loans, on commercial real estate loans because of the pandemic, and we all became very comfortable working at home and not going into the office. And so we aren't going into the office, so our employers are canceling or not renewing the leases on the buildings that they have, which puts then the owners of the buildings in jeopardy, which puts the banks in jeopardy. So that's all happening again. It's just commercial real estate as opposed to residential real estate. Then, if you've been paying attention, you heard Jamie Dimon come out and say that the Chase Manhattan banks, J.P. Morgan, would be opening 500 new branches in the next 3 years. What's that all about? When all I got to do is drive down the road and I can see Regions Bank, my bank, is closing offices. They recognize I do my banking over the internet, and yet J.P. Morgan is going to probably open some branches here in Birmingham, even to the extent that Regions here in Birmingham sold a bank over in Ensley for $125,000 to a black fraternity who helps young children get a better education, and it was on their books for over $1 million. Well, why did they do that? Because they're in trouble. That's why, and they can't. And it's in a neighborhood where nobody wants to buy that building other than the people that want to help the children in that neighborhood. So these are dots I need you to be connecting and saying, I think this is all happening all over again. So that's where we've got the commercial loans that are also not just on rental properties, on office buildings, but any commercial loan is having to renew And 3 years ago, they had a loan that was at 3% plus 2, so it's 5. But now interest rates are up around 5, so now they have to renew at 8%. Not only the office buildings, but then you've got to look at it and say, okay, the office building is 40% occupancy. I run a restaurant that every day I depended on the people coming out of that office building and buying lunch, but wait a second, they're not coming anymore. So I got to close my doors. And then I own a flower shop, or I own a boutique dress shop, or the commercial loan business is collapsing. Now, it is, again, I want you to connect the dots. Yesterday, I hope you saw Janice Yelling appear before a committee, and she basically said, yeah, we've got some issues, but we've alerted our auditors and our inspectors, and we're getting it under control. Connect that dot. The banks are writing off. Janice is alerting her people. Jamie Dimon is opening 500. They already had the Friday night, Saturday, Sunday meeting that they had back in 2009. They had it. Okay. Janice met with Jamie Dimon and said, Jamie, we're about to have another banking crisis. You've got to help us out. Well, do you think Jamie said, oh, okay, I'll ride in on my white horse and I'll be the Lone Ranger and I'll come in and save the day? No. Jamie said, what's in it for me? And of course he said, what's in it for me? Because he represents his shareholders. And what's in it for Jamie? Jamie's going to buy that bad loan for probably 30 cents on the dollar, because he's got to come in and get people to refurbish that building to make it worth anything. Then, on top of that, they've got to make a profit. Well, Jamie's got to make a profit too. And that's the cost of doing business with Jamie Dimon. So who's going to suck that up? If it's Regions Bank, is it me? Because I have deposits there. I do not have an account with over $150,000 on it, so my account is insured. But who isn't covered? The stockholder. The stockholder is going to suck it down, just like they did on Silicon Valley Bank. They're going to lose. What's that going to do to the stock market? I think I know. All I got to do is go back to my chart that I have on my website that shows when there's an inverted yield curve, when interest rates have gone up, leveled off, and then start going down. When they start going down, that means the government's coming in to bail everybody out and the stock market crashes. Okay, that's the long way around the barn, but that's what I see happening. And all I'm doing is connecting the dots. I do not have any inside information. Jamie Dimon doesn't call me. Jerome Powell doesn't call me. Janice Yellen doesn't call me. All I'm doing is connecting the dots. And then I'm leaving it to you to figure out where the safe place is. That's right. You got to run to your safe place. There's a tornado coming. Go to the basement, get in the bathtub, put that piece of plywood over it, and let's pray to God that it goes somewhere else. Okay? Took our tree down a month ago, but it didn't take our house down. But we went to our safe place. Well, that's exactly what I'm doing now. I'm 70% cash, although yesterday I put a lot of money to work as one of the stocks that I know that is going to go up in the next 3 years. They're probably going to tenfold because they're in robotics and they're altering warehouses such that they don't need people to move merchandise. I'm listening to earnings call. I just listened to one this morning on another semiconductor company that is dropping 15% today in value, and I want to know why. I want to be able to connect the dots. Well, that's a whole nother story. That's something we'll talk about at one of our stock talks on Friday. But right now, I know there is another bank crisis coming. Look on my chart. I've even put the faces on the chart, who the players are. Listen to them. Hear what they're saying. Because they're telling you they are not going to allow you to be surprised. They're not relying on Michael Berry to tell you than The Big Short like they did then. They're going to step up and say, see, we told you this was going to happen. You just weren't paying attention. Well, pay attention. Connect the dots. Get with some people who can help you make good investment decisions, who spend their days and their nights connecting dots so that you can take advantage of a bad situation, because it's a bad situation. Bad things. Who's that? Who's saying that? You'll tell me. Who's saying that? Bad things. I just watched a movie that was, anyway, be aware. Go to your safe spot. Buy those companies that are going to benefit from what is going to happen. The market gives you opportunities as a result of change. The last big opportunity relative to change was artificial intelligence. It started November in 2022, and we benefited through 2023. And now we're coming into 2024, and it's time for another change. All you got to do is connect the dots, and you see the change. Janice told you yesterday. Jamie Dimon told you yesterday. It's there. I told you 3 weeks ago. All right, I'm Kerry Grinkmeyer. I'm a retired financial advisor. I don't do videos like most people. I was thinking the other day, I think the closest person to the kind of video I deliver is Joe Rogan. He just says what he thinks. When he's shocked, he goes, okay. So if that appeals to you, if you've learned something over the last 13 minutes, then like this video and subscribe to this channel. And if you want more inside information, come to our Stock Talk, but you won't get an invitation to our Stock Talk unless you get on the bus.